long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
You like me because I'm a scoundrel. There aren't enough scoundrels in your life.
I happen to like nice men.
Nice man.
Very nice.
So yesterday at a Morgan Stanley Investors Conference, Bob Iger made a speech where he talked about many things, including the proxy fight with Nelson Peltz and Jay Rasulo with the backing of Ike Perlmutter, who's basically one of Bob Iger's mortal enemies. We all know what he did to Ike Perlmutter last year when he fired him as the head of Marvel Entertainment. And he's basically saying right here that he is not distracted. It's hard not to get distracted by the Nelson Peltz dust-up. And when you've got that going on, and maybe the fight with an actual takeover fight involving Elon Musk, it gets pretty scary. And there's of course, Blackwell's with their 3 candidates. And it would be very difficult for somebody like Iger not to get distracted by this. But he talked about a lot of other things, a lot of things that he's done basically to pump up the quality rather than the quantity of content that the studios are producing right now. And this is a video talking about that, but this is also speculation on my part. Disney's killed a few projects amid studio overhauls, says Bob Iger. We've not been that public about it. They fired the head of studio content and installed a guy that ran Fox Studios in his place. Okay, there's one thing. If you look at the last couple of years of Marvel, it's been bad. Shang-Chi, the Ms. Marvel, and the Eternals were just horrible. Okay, just downright horrible movies. You look at Disney Plus, you've got Ms. Marvel, where one of the directors, Charmin Obiad-Chinoy, did 2 episodes that had to be completely reshot because they were woke on steroids. Okay, they were terrible. The content for both new content, for Disney Plus and the studios has been not even mediocre. Okay. And I'm just talking about Marvel. I'm not even bringing up Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Lucasfilm offerings. This last May at the Cannes Film Festival, as Kennedy's leaving the theater, she gets told that the Star Wars Star Cruiser Hotel is being closed, and Willow was completely canceled, and it was being completely lifted off Disney Plus. Okay, what's going on here? Well, again, this is Iger being very aggressive, and that was public. Okay, had nothing to do with the movies that, the ideas of movies that were talked about that were canceled. Okay, projects in development that just sit on the the shelf, growing mold and dust. Iger again said, we've killed projects, but we haven't been that public about it. Now, why haven't they been that public about it? Look at the stock price. Now, a few days ago, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I thought Elon Musk had bought a ton of Disney stock, and maybe he did. But it came out that Disney itself had bought $3 billion back of its own stock. And the price is artificially pumped up right now. Okay. Peltz and Rasulo and Perlmutter and Elon all know this. Okay. You can't keep doing that because it's a fake number. It's like, look, it's like when some Deadline Hollywood freak or some fanboy like Jason Ward uses, the gross box office to talk about how great a movie did. When you're looking at it from the numbers perspective and from the financials, and you're like, this is bullshit. These numbers are fake. Okay, that's the thing that I get from looking at the stock price, is that it's fake. Okay, Iger did this so he could fight off Nelson Peltz. Hard to get distracted. Well, if Peltz does get on the board and does find out what the books really say, a lot of people are probably going to have to leave the Disney company and find different jobs. Okay, that's just the way it is. But what I want to talk about are the projects that cause cancellations and the things that were canceled that we were never told about, that were hidden.
Hey, guys.
Oh, Gonzo, hey, you want to do a puppet act with me?
Cue the disaster. What's a puppet?
Oh, well, see...
It's a doll.
Yeah,
It's made to look
it's a doll.
alive by wiggling strings,
Yeah, strings.
or putting your hand inside of it.
Hands, like that.
What a stupid idea. Who wants to watch dolls wiggle?
Well,
I mean, even I wouldn't do an act like that. Doll wiggling, talk about boring.
I didn't have the heart to tell him.
No, stop. Not one more crooked word. Your tongue could open a wine bottle.
Andrus drew a pentagram on the floor and chanted, "I summon thee," 3 times.
So, The Marvels, offshoot of Miss Marvel. And from what I've heard, Miss Marvel is a good show, and it got a bad rap from people. So, watch it if you want. I am not a fan of this genre, this type of movie, so I've got no real opinion on this. But I do have an opinion on Brie Larson. The fact that ever since she said that, she didn't give a shit about the opinions of 40-year-old men, I'm paraphrasing. She basically has become box office poison. If you put her in a movie without Robert Downey Jr., without Chris Evans, etc., the movie's going to fail. And do you see any of those guys here? No, you don't. This movie was a failure. Okay. First off, comic book fans are not going to go after femme-centric films. They're just not. If you look at The Eternals, that failed. If you look at Shang-Chi, that failed completely. Why? Not box office fatigue. First, over superhero movies. Iger said it best: if we do it right, they'll come. If we build it right, the fans will be there. The problem is these movies were poorly written, poorly cast, poorly acted movies. Okay, just the whole everything. Okay, and it's not just a problem with Marvel, but when Iger said they canceled movies in development that they hadn't been public about it, what did they cancel that we haven't really heard about in Marvel? And think about it. Was there an X-Men comic movie? What? Okay. But it goes across studios, what animated features, what Pixar movies, okay? What live action movies were canceled that were Walt Disney Studios, not Marvel or Lucasfilm. Okay, so let's talk about Lucasfilm. Taika Waititi supposedly has a movie. We still sometimes hear about it. It has never actually moved forward. I'm going to call this thing in development hell, and that Disney basically canceled it. All right. The guy did a decent job directing in The Mandalorian, but when you've got Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni breathing down your neck, you're not gonna fuck it up. Okay. We could talk about a Boba Fett movie. That became the Book of Boba Fett. And also The Mandalorian. Okay. Because they needed content for Disney Plus, and the script for probably the Boba Fett movie was so bad, it had to be reworked. Okay. And we all know the story behind that. Rian Johnson's trilogy. No one talks about that anymore. Why? Because it was never allowed to get off the ground. Kathleen Kennedy decided to announce it, and Bob Iger said no. And then Bob Chapek said no. And now Bob Iger said no again. This little fucker knows he doesn't have a movie, a Star Wars trilogy. He knows that. It's too bad for his bozo fans, but it's the truth. Okay? And this is one of the things, then you look, what other movies that were related to Star Wars were canceled that we haven't been told about. We will eventually, I think, find out. Now let's talk about the Rey movie. Every shill and fanboy that has rainbow flags and, the tranny flag in their bios with their selected pronouns wants this piece of shit. May I remind you that Doritos hired somebody just like that, and then when we found out that he was a pedophile, they fired him. Like, the guy lasted 2 days before those tweets came out, and he was fired. Okay. All right. That's the audience for a Rey movie. Bob Iger knows that. So these flaming Nancy boys and virtue signaling hags can scream all they want about a Rey movie. They're not going to get one. And they're the only ones that are talking about it. Bob Iger never said it was canceled. But what he said at the first quarter earnings conference was there's a Mandalorian movie and some nonsense about the Acolyte. Whatever we get from that. And the Acolyte is so steeped in mystery, that I really do want the Dunning-Kruger brothers to dig further into it to find out what's really behind it. Because I don't have the energy or the wherewithal to ever I don't care about it anymore. Okay? Except to see it go on Disney Plus without any marketing, stay there for a month, and then disappear, which is what it's going to do. But the Rey movie. Never announced that it was canceled. Just never talked about. Which is exactly what Disney did with the Taika Waititi movie and with the Rian Johnson trilogy. Again, what other Star Wars movies were canceled right off the top of Kathy Kennedy's, walnut-sized brain? We have to think about that. This is what Bob Iger was talking about. What did they not tell us? And I have to say this, I want to find out what was canceled and what wasn't. And the reason why is because I think the fans should know. I think there should be a reality check for some of these people. The people who don't spend money on Star Wars want this stuff. They won't even go see these movies. It's all about their validation. All right. And I've got to say this. I've got to say this. If you need a Ray movie to validate you, you need a psychiatrist or to talk to your priest, your rabbi, or an imam, because you have problems, okay? A Ray movie has nothing to do with anything else but hopefully making money for Disney, and it won't. Why? Because again, the people who want it and are demanding it don't buy the merchandise. They don't go to the films over and over again. All right? And they turn around and blissfully attack anybody who came from an older generation, Generation X, and, you know, scream curse words at us and say shitty things when they're literally the laziest, most accursed generation on the planet. And they want this, but they don't do anything when they've got something like this to make it worth the business's while. Why should Bob Iger fork over $200 million for a movie he knows is going to lose money? Let's talk about Indiana Jones. Okay, great beginning of the film. The whole part where they were on the train and it's 1944 is fantastic. Okay, however, when you get into the meat part of the movie, it becomes this sort of lopsided, woke dumpster fire where you've got a black female CIA agent working with a group of neo-Nazis. Really? In 1969? All right, you know, Indiana Jones fans know a little bit about history and know that's bullshit. Okay, there were some good parts to it, but when you've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's the live-action Sabine in Indiana Jones, she's smug, she's always got a sneer on her face, and the self-righteous look, and people hate that shit. She's not likable. Again, drives people away from the film. Okay, people wanted an Indiana Jones movie, and we only got a quarter of one. Okay, they lost $350 million. What else was canceled? This is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.